guiding me to share my story with you guys. This is a story of living on the edge of this reality and many others. And I'm going to tell it because there's much to the story that will help awaken you guys and kind of ignite your gifts as well. So they're really pushing me to tell it. The last 2 nights that I've woken up, and I usually get channeled messages and stuff. There's been nothing, and they just kept saying, you've got to tell your story. So here I am. I'm going to be telling my story. I'll be starting right from the beginning, and I will bring in as much of what wisdom I know of what's happened with myself, obviously. A lot of energy work, a lot of visitations, a lot of like really amazing synchronicities and excitement. It's been a really amazing journey. All of this happening while doing the normal mainstream stuff that everybody else does. So a little bit about myself, although I will be talking about myself a bit more. And this might be a part 1, part 2, maybe even part 3, because there's so much to bring in. I mean, we're talking 50 years of life here. But I'll just wait for a wee bit and see who's going to come online first. And what I might do is also go through each of these things that's going to happen, that happened to me, and as it might ignite something within you, then just throw something on the chat line, and and then we will have a discussion about it to see if we can help ignite whatever's coming up for you as well. So I want this to be like an interactive kind of a thing. Also, I have an intuitive counseling thing that I do on my website. So my website is www.codestoanewreality.com. And that is, so there's intuitive counseling. And I also started an Etsy store, which has some readings. So the readings are more to do with the cards and, pulling out oracle and tarot cards. So a lot of information comes out. Where the intuitive counseling is getting into the depths of your soul, connection to your authentic self, the guides and all that come in that want to help, and really connecting you to the gifts that you come in with. So there's obviously messages, and if I'm guided to do certain things, either way, I'll do it. I'm not going to block anything just because it's a card reading or because it's an intuitive counseling. We just allow spirit to talk through and see what all happens with that. So I'm just thinking also, I've got a couple of books. My books are called Imagine Holding Hands, and my other book is called Jonah and Kitty and the Timekeeper's Void. Imagine Holding Hands is a picture book. It's for ages 0+, and it ignites the right brain and the imagination, and allows children to realize that they can see into different frequencies, hear different frequencies, feel different frequencies, and it's okay that other people are doing this as well. And Jonah and Kitty is an adventure story where 2 teenagers end up finding themselves in the elemental world, and the elemental world needed saving and needed helping because it was disconnected from our world. There's a lot of truths, a lot of stories in there that I've actually gone through. I've kind of called it faction instead. Hey Franklin, hey Okluk, nice to see you guys. So that's a really cool story. I've definitely brought in a lot of my own facts, things that I've gone through, and weaved it into the story of Jonah and Kitty. Yeah, so that's a really interesting story. Probably ages a very awoken 10-year-old plus for that story. So yeah, I'm going to be sharing, I'll just let you guys know, I'm sharing my story, my life story today. And there's going to be several parts to it because it's a huge, 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 huge story. Yeah, I'll just wait a little bit longer. I've been told that I need to wait for people to turn up on the chat. It sometimes can take a little bit of time for people to come through. So I'll wait a little bit longer and see who else drops by. Sometimes people are busy in the mornings, and I don't know. I think you guys are like in the night or afternoon over there. Over where you come from. Yeah, but definitely I was woken up the last couple of nights with no channel messages, and that's not like me, but they kept saying, push your story, you have to tell your story. So I'm telling my story. I mean, I did get the odd little channel message. I think I sent one through on Facebook yesterday, and that was connected to a drawing that I did of the future back in 2014, and that drawing was of a seed blooming and all the buildings all broken down and falling down around us. And it was really an igniting picture. So yeah, okay, let's just get into this. I'm just going to get into it. I'm not one for waiting. I don't have much patience, to tell you the truth, but I've learned. Okay, so first off, I'm going to start off with when I was born. I can literally remember the energy I was born into. See, I'm going to share these stories because it might ignite something in you guys, and when it ignites something in you guys, please chat with me and say it's ignited something, and I'll try to answer. Even if you hear this afterwards, give me a chat line and I'll see if I can answer it, through chat, just through writing. So when I was born, I definitely come from a very higher frequency. And what I remember is being extremely excited about coming to this lower frequency of materialism, and being pretty excited about the parties, the city, and all that sort of stuff. And then I ended up, as I was coming closer and closer and closer to being born, there was this kind of a feeling of, oh my gosh, the energy is so intense, it's so huge, it's so lower, it's so more than what I expected. And I kind of started backtracking. And it's quite funny, in my 20s, I ended up diving with a partner at the time, and we ended up I saw a ginormous groper fish. These fish are like 15, 20 feet big, huge. Their lips are like huge as this, they're just massive fish. And I'm excited to go see it. So I'm paddling away with my flippers and my snorkel going, oh my God, this is so exciting. And this is the same feeling I got when I was born. And then as I'm getting closer, the current is pulling me because I'm like, flapping my flippers. And then all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, this thing's huger than what I thought. And I started backtracking, trying to stop myself from banging into this massive fish. And so I was actually born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. I think I was like, holy crap, I don't know if I could do this. And I'm going, I don't know. I think I'm out. But, I didn't die. So here I am. And then I'm going to jump to the first vision that I had. So this is a very spiritual journey that happened to me. When I was, my first vision was when I was around 4 or 5 years old. And I pulled the curtains back from my bedroom in the middle of the night, and I saw with my eyes, this isn't something within my mind, these clowns were all around the outside of my room, outside. I had a little pool, and they were all standing around that, and it freaked me out, honestly. So I called for my mum, and my mum just turned around and said, "Nah, you didn't see anything. That's not going to happen." Nah. She shut that ability down, because I didn't realize at the time, being so young, that she actually had the same ability. She used to wake up and see things happening to her, people coming, something happening. Like she saw a ladder falling on her. So she could see into different frequencies as well, but she did not like it. She's had a lot more past lives than me, and I've come freshly from a higher dimensional perspective. So she shut it down within me, and that's okay, because it got me to really ground myself for the next 15 years until I'd left home, and sort myself out with being here in this reality, which is quite good. But I think that those clowns, now looking back, has something to do with the grey ETs, because they do tend to, when they come through, they will come through trying to pretend that there's something that a child might like, except it scared the crap out of me, because I didn't get the greatest feeling from it. And from then on, I had a fear of clowns. So that backfired. But when I was 11, and I was still at home, there was a huge story. Now, this happened, what had happened with me happened before this story happened. Sorry, that's okay, really confusing there. There was a huge story on television, through the news. In Kaikoura, there was a huge UFOs that were actually seen and filmed by newsreaders. They jumped in a plane, they followed this UFO, they took some footage, it's all online in Kaikoura. I was 11 years old at the time. I lived 4 hours away from Kaikoura. I lived in a little town called Kaipoi. And I had no curtains on my windows, because there was a new upstairs room that was built by my parents. So I was lying there, and I saw a huge orange ball. Now, I hadn't heard the story in the news at this moment. I saw a huge orange ball light outside my bedroom window, and the first thing I thought was, that's got to be, a light from the highway that's, there. That's just a light from the highway. And I looked up and realized the highway was way further away and down lower, and a lot smaller orange lights. So no way, it was not a highway. This was an actual something that I wasn't sure what it was at the time. So I'm lying there in bed and watching this thing, and I honestly felt like it was watching me. It was a really bizarre feeling like I was being, they had found me or something. And then watching this UFO just stay very still in the sky, all of a sudden it just went and took off very fast. And that's when I froze. I got very scared. I realized this was for real. This is a real UFO. I'm freaking out. So typical me, put the blankets over my face as much as possible. I don't like it completely over my face, because I don't like anything over my face. But, just stayed there holding the blankets, frozen. I would not move one muscle. I was just absolutely petrified. Hey, Chris. I'm telling my life story, by the way, Chris. So I'm petrified seeing this UFO just take off at the age of 11. And then my door opened, and my father walks in, and he sits on my bed, and he takes my hand, and he just sat there with me and calmed me down. And then he got up, and then he walked out. Now, my dad had never come into my bedroom at night, ever. Never before, never after. And I asked him, I actually went to him and said, thanks for coming sitting on with me, and he said he didn't. So that was not my father. That was somebody else. That was an extraterrestrial. Then I had some other encounters where there was lights all in the bedroom. My sister reminded me about this one. So they kept visiting me, and what I think that they did was they cleared my pineal gland, because we were eating foods and stuff with preservatives in it and stuff like that. It wasn't good, and they wanted me to have a clear pineal gland, so I think they cleared it for me. I found myself at one stage, my mum used to work 3 a.m. in the morning till 3 a.m. as a cleaner on trains. She was the supervisor of the cleaners for the trains. So she'd come home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and one morning late at night, she saw me on the roof. So the roof is extremely steep. I could get out of my bedroom window to jump on the roof. So that wasn't like I was plonk, like I could actually get out physically, but the roof was steep enough. I have no idea how I could even, I could possibly stand up on it, but I would not have been able to walk. And apparently I was running backwards on this roof with my hands in the air waving when she came home. So obviously freaked my mother out, something terrible. And I cannot remember this, but she asked me to come back inside, and I did. So that was another event that was happening around the same time as these UFOs and beings were coming to me. I also had another event where I was taken back in time, and when I was 3 years old and we first moved into our house, my next door neighbors, I spent a night at my next door neighbors when my younger brother was born, and I did not know where the bathroom was in this house, so I thought I would go back home and go to the bathroom in my house and then come back. And what had happened was I was back in, it was like I was back in time, and I thought that I was 3 years old again. So I actually went back to that house to try to find out where I was. Like, my time kind of went all over the show for a bit when I was growing up. There was all sorts of bizarre things that were happening with me. I think they were taking me back to clear some stuff. So I knocked on the door of my next door neighbor's bedroom, and they didn't open because they were all asleep, and I walked in, and it wasn't until I was actually walking home that I clicked to what age I actually was. It was another extraordinary event. So, but this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing on what was going to happen to me in my life. These are little events from when I was little. So that was my first UFO contact. And honestly, my visions really didn't start taking off till I left home. So as soon as I'd left home and I was living on my own, all of a sudden I would get messages, don't be with this person. This person is good. So they would show me things like I would wake up and see a little tank that was beside my bed. And this is for real, not something like, it's not obviously for real. This is another dimensional thing. But for me, it looked real. And the little tank would have its little gun, and it would be pointing at me. In other words, what I found out later, anything to do with guns, anything to do with tanks or guns or anything like that, was meaning leave the relationship. The relationship is not good for you. But it did take me a long time to figure that out. So that then I had my daughter. When my daughter was born, my eldest daughter, who is now 31, she is a scientist over in Sweden. When she was born, I had my first experience of seeing astral traveling. So when babies are born, they will astral travel for the first, could be up to about 4 or 5 months, and they want to be close to their mum. So they like to be sleeping with their mum. So if they're in a crib somewhere, what they do is they astral travel, and I saw this happen. She would come to me, and at that time in that era we had water beds. And I would literally wake up trying to find her in the bladder of the waterbed, because I would freak out, not realizing that it was actually her astral body that traveled to me and enlivened me, because I'm still learning about all of these visions. I didn't understand them. They were full on. There was a lot of them. I'd see grey ETs stand at the bottom of my bed and all sorts, just to begin with. Yeah, so that was full on, just learning about that and just reading my notes, because there's just so much to tell you. Now, if any of you guys like have some sort of, oh my God, that sparks something in me, just give me a chat line. Okay, so we go from there, and in my around my mid-20s was when something really started oomping up. So I have all these visions and things that I'd be waking up, didn't understand them, carry on with my life, just think, you know, maybe it's normal, maybe it's not, maybe I just hide this, I won't tell anybody, just carry on with my life. Around 27-ish, had a crazy experience that really started waking me up, where I was with a partner at the time, and life wasn't that great. My mind was pretty messy. And I had this voice come in my head, and it was just a subtle voice. It was just kept saying, just think positive, just think positive, just think positive, just give it a go. Don't worry, just think positive. So we're driving to Akaroa, which is a beach in New Zealand. And on the way there, this voice kept saying, just think positive. Now, I'm starting to talk to this voice in my head, thinking that's unusual. So I said to the voice, well, why would I do that? You know, what difference is it going to make anyway? And they said, well, just try it out. No one else can hear what's going on in your mind. So why don't you just give this a crack? And whenever you think of something that you don't like, maybe switch it to something that you do like, and see where it takes you. Just go on this journey with us. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, maybe this is just my own mind speaking. I'm not going to listen to it really, you know. It's pretty crazy to think that sort of thing. So even though I'd had all those visions and all that stuff, my logical mind had a great little hold on me. So in the end, we get to this beach, and it's in New Zealand. We just have long beaches everywhere, because it's a little island, right? So there's just beaches. It's not like a beach where, you know, everybody comes to. There's nobody there. It's cold. And my partner at the time was a photographer, so he jumps out the car because he wanted to take some photographs. And I'm sitting in the car, and I had the same voice come in my head, and it said, open the car door and dig. So I opened the car door and I dug. And I dug about yay feet down, and I found a solid gold bracelet that was worth quite a few hundreds of dollars. And it had a little tattered heart, like the heart was a little bit bashed, kind of like my own. And there was a silver pendant and a greenstone pendant as well, or silver earring and a greenstone pendant. But the bracelet, I remember thinking, holy crap, I followed this voice and it's led me to gold. I mean, this is this crazy random beach where there was no car park. It was just us pulling up on the side of the road. So for that to actually happen and for it to be dug up was pretty freaking mind-blowing, to tell you the honest truth at the time. So I dug up this gold bracelet, and I realized then I have to start listening to this voice. And it took me on a journey for the next 2 years. Now, the frequency at the moment is way ramped up. So what happened to me in 2 years can happen to you in the matter of months, weeks, or even days. But in the 2 years that I did, this is a long time ago, we're talking about 25 years ago, they taught me that whenever I had something negative in my mind that I really didn't want to keep replaying, We're not talking about getting rid of all of your negative thoughts, because sometimes things don't feel good because you need to clear them and you need to get rid of them. But to be able to control my mind, to be able to say yes or no to what was coming in, was the most important thing. So I started to learn how to control my mind, and they taught me that you can put something, a default image in your brain, and the default image is like a default image on the computer. You say, okay, from now on, whenever I don't like something, I'm going to put a car or a plane or whatever you feel comfortable with, sunflower, whatever it is, in my mind, and that's my default. That means I need to focus on that object, or that, or even if it's harder to focus on an object, an actual thing that happened, a beautiful thing, say when your daughter was born, or some beautiful party that you went to, or something that's completely different, that's easy to grasp, for your mind to grasp hold of. And what you're doing is you're strengthening that neuron path, and you're weakening the negative neuron path, because we want to create more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. So that's what they started teaching me for the next couple of years. Now, it started giving me a space in my mind because I wasn't as negative, and the space turned into gifts. I started having prophetic visions. I started knowing what was going to happen, and I decided it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I need to go to Australia, and I didn't have the money at the time, but I just trusted, and I ended up having the money. What had happened was I was driving home from work, and I had this prophetic vision that there was something in the letterbox given to me, and I opened the letterbox. I was living at my parents' place at the time, and there was nothing in the letterbox, and I went, no, Mum's put it on my TV, it's there, I just know it's there. And I went inside, and here's this letter on my TV. She had put it there, and it was of a gift of a few $1,000s. So it actually helped me come to Australia. And you kind of know who to help and who not to help. So there's a whole heap of things that come with you giving yourself enough space in your mind not to be thinking and focusing on all the negative crap, all the negative stuff. So that was really, really exciting. Then you can take it even further. But what had happened with me was, when I came to Australia, I lived with my sister who had a lot of problems, and I kind of dive-bombed back into my old negative space for a while. But it was like they took the training wheels off me, and they said, we've already taught you how to do this, now you've got to do it. And I'm like, I was struggling for a while after that to try to find myself back. I was in a new country. Trying to find a job, trying to get my life together. I didn't have any money. I pre-booked all of the tickets for my daughter to come to be with me, and every single holiday and all of the things. And she ended up living with me, but I knew that was going to happen, and that's why I took the leap of faith as well, because of that clear-mindedness. I had a dream of the high school she was going to, and I knew she was going to be living with me. And when I got to Australia, I saw the high school that was in my dream, so I knew 100% she was going to be living with me. And we didn't have any money. It was really, really hard for a while. But things got better. I met a lovely man, and I got married for a while. That went really well. Had 2 more children. Now, so that all taught me about my inner work. But after this is when it all started. When I was with my husband, my younger daughter's father, OMG, did I have a lot of visitations. I had so many visitations, and the next part of my story I'll be going into is meeting with Cherokee Elder, going to Ohio, sun dances, seeing spirits. It was really quite amazing what happens next. It's like I've just told you the little parts of my journey, but there is some huge stories coming. Yeah, so for now, I think that's enough about me. And so I'll love you guys and leave you because I can hear my daughters are waking up now. And thank you so much for being part of this. It's interesting. I think I might have to go back to doing live streams later on, because if I'm too early, I notice not so many people can come. Maybe they're all waking up on the other side of the world. So I might have to bring my live streams a little bit later. And yeah, but anyway, bye.